What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us on our live feed. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. For those of you that didn't have to work and had time to do something fun. Let's see. So we got a lot to talk about today. The big news is, at least for me, is Carlos Vera, his 2018 Mustang GT Whipple project. You guys may have seen. It went very well first time to the track. We're going to go over that car, watch the video, and take some questions on that, of course, if anybody has any questions. I want to talk about a new product we have coming out with LMT, late model throttle. Those guys are kicking butt. You may have seen the throttle body we have coming out. It's their throttle body, and we're going to be releasing it under the PBD name. And working with them on that, and all the blower stuff, along with Brett from Joker's Performance, some brainstorming. We've come up with a new product that I think for sure is going to help these faster cars, higher boost cars, but it's possible it may help any GT 500. So I'll show you guys a little bit about that. And actually, I have a lot more to show you than I expected. Jeff is just really kicking butt on getting that done. Let's see, who do we got in here? Paul Monaco, what's up? Carlos Vera, there's the man right there. His car is super badass. For those of you that don't know it, I drive Carlos's car. Thank you so much for letting me drive your car, brother. It is it's a little bit scary, honestly. I've been faster, but man, that Whipple blower, tight butt cheeks when I hit the throttle, basically. What's up, Sean? We got some good F-150 news for you. Well, not exactly for your personal truck. We'll go over that when we talk about the new products and stuff. Pedro Porto, what's up? Hey, Brandon, BA Motorsports. He takes care of Christino's GT 500 up in the Cincinnati area, as well as a lot of other cars we tune up in that area. Frank, Sonic C6 Racing, Warp Speed. Yeah, we're gonna. Frank did a great video on Carlos's car. We actually, to be honest with you, we were supposed to go test last Wednesday, and up in Orlando. Well, let's back up real quick. We dynoed the car, and it made unexpected power. I don't have the dynograph handy. I meant to grab that at work, and I'm having problems with logging into that computer remotely, so I don't have it, but I'll tell you the numbers now that we've run the car. We threw it on the dyno. You know what? We're not going to talk about that car yet. We're gonna go over some other stuff first, real quick, and we'll just go over that car all at once. How about that? Northern Rider Off-Road. My hat. Yep. There's a special meaning behind this hat, other than what it says, which is great. You might see on the back. Hopefully you can see that. It says Jerry's Kids. Jerry is responsible for me being in the tuning game, and he gets a lot of his people that he helps together for tuning, training, and everything, really. And he gave us all these hats recently at the last one. So anyway, let's get started. So on Carlos's car, where I wanted to start with that is, hold on one second. Let me get my screen ready. Where I wanted to start on that was talking about a successful build. And there's no guarantees in any kind of build. And there's been situations where we've done everything 100% right and it didn't work out very well. But when we have a properly planned build and really get a lot of people involved and talk about everything and, plan it out well, it usually goes a lot better. And, when I talk I'm talking Rarefab, which is, for those of you guys that aren't super familiar with our situation, Palm Beach Dyno is primarily a tuning and parts company. And then all of the mechanical work in any of the building or anything really, they're called Rarefab because Will does all kinds of fabrication work at any level, really. He has some really crazy stuff going on right now that are outside the Mustang world. But for the builds that we do, they do all the mechanical work and build the cars, and they're right next door to us. So it's a great situation. So, you know, you can drop off a vehicle and just, you know, get the entire thing done by us. It's similar to being one shop, but we're really not. It's Rarefab, and Palm Beach Dyno and Rarefab is, you know, all the mechanical work, all of it. So, and he deserves a huge amount of credit on Carlos's car. And the whole reason I'm bringing that up is because it's not the first car that went down like this, and it's not going to be the last car that went down like this. So I wanted to talk about the last car that went down like this first, which is Jimmy's turbo car. Jimmy's had a 2015 Mustang GT that it actually had a Whipple on it at the time, which, you know, anyway, Carlos' car has a Whipple, so we redeemed Whipple. But at the time, Jimmy had a Whipple on the car, and he wanted to be the world's fastest 680, maybe get first in the sevens and all that. So, and Jimmy owns a shop, but Jimmy doesn't do a lot of Mustang stuff. So he came to me and asked me a bunch of questions. Long story short, it wound up coming down to our setup with Rarefab putting the car together, and us pretty much doing it as a turnkey build, more in a partnership with Jimmy, and not just like a straight up customer situation, but same exact thing. We handled the whole thing, made all the calls, all the decisions, and that car was ready. Not really ready. Like, it was almost it went down the track a week before the Mod Nats in 2017, and we really weren't sure what it was going to do, but we were real confident in the build. So we went up to the Mod Nats in 2017, pulling the car up to Georgia with my Explorer Sport and a U-Haul trailer. So anyway, I want to watch that video real quick and show you guys that car. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and ask. So the point of this is, you know, another situation where we can just, you know, everything comes down. Whoops. There we go. Everything comes down to budget in the end, of course. But, you know, a lot of these builds, you know, I'm sure, you know, Jimmy had a lot of money into his car. And I'm sure, you know, Carlos has a lot of money into his build also. But it's not super exotic parts, really. Right there, there's a good indication of where this conversation's going. It's more about getting all the right people involved. So you've got, you know, Rarefab on the build. Obviously, we're handling all the tuning. Circle D is almost always the converter we're using. BMR suspension, and now Kelly with his new deal, Keltrack. And for those of you guys that don't know about Keltrack, you need to know about it. That's Kelly's new deal. And basically, a lot of people will know him for custom speccing out struts and shocks currently, but he's really going to expand that into, you know, a lot more. He's really smart coming up with products, so keep an eye out for Keltrack. Anyway, back to this, you know, and there's another theme you're going to see here. All three cars that I talk about here are going to be white cars. That's a coincidence. The only guy that actually is white is this guy here. Actually, he's Greek. They consider white. Anyway, so, you know, we showed up to Mod Nats and really weren't even ready. So you basically saw us dial this car in live. So we'll skip through this a little bit. You know, this is like second round of qualifying, 864. The car hadn't even run a 9 before we had gotten there. So, yeah, Brandon, way cheaper to spend it right the first time. And, you know, we're not perfect. We don't always get it right. But the good thing about what we do is we touch so many different vehicles, we can usually get the setup right pretty quick. What's up, Forlug in Houston, Texas? Let's see. All right. Anyway, so here we're chipping away as we go. Oh, I want to show you guys this just because it was pretty interesting. Talk about a strong transmission and converter. Check out this. Something happened to the tree, and look how long I was on the two-step. Hey, Paul, same thing here. I'm Italian, so I don't know if I'm considered white. I don't really care, honestly. I'm just joking around. The guy tried to wave us off. The car seemed to like it, actually. I think almost every single pass on the car through qualifying was the quickest pass of ever for the car. All right, so now we're in eliminations. This is a good one. That's Scott from Colorado over there in the other lane with the TVS. He's gotten smarter and runs a Whipple nowadays, but this was a TVS, and I almost got my ass kicked right here. Watch this. You may think I was sleeping, and I guess overall I was, but this was before it was super easy to put a bump box on these cars. Some people had done it, some people hadn't, and we didn't have one. So, you know, I was trying to race. Well, you know, Scott had a supercharged car, so he didn't have to stage like a dummy like us turbo guys do. So it was very difficult. I think this is against, I didn't see this, versus Juan. I was getting a little bit better at trying to stage the car with no bump box. That was a super cool race. This is Brett LaSala. At the time, you know, we were all trying to be first in the, well, we weren't trying anything yet. This is the first time we were in the 8th this weekend. But a lot of people were looking to see who would be first in the 7s back at this point. And I'm not sure how quick Brett had been, but he'd been very, very, very quick, like 8-1. He did me a favor by letting me stage first. And I think that definitely didn't help his result in this race. Because I didn't have a bump box, I think he did. But thanks, Brett, for letting me get in. So that was the quickest pass to the car. At that point, that was the fastest side-by-side 6 or 80 pass. So we've come a long way since then. And then we don't even need to watch that. Terry Beefcake spun, and I won. And I was a jerk to him. Me and Terry go back a long way, though. So here, watch this. He got the flashers. Sorry. We go back a long way, though, so that's okay. Anyway, there's the winner's circle right there. So the whole point of me showing you that video is, oh, and also that car was first in the 7s. Here's another video real quick. For those of you that don't remember this car exactly, this car got wrecked because of the throttle hang issues on the 15 through 17 deal. That was the first time we lost it, and the same day we did 7s, but luckily we didn't hit the wall. We'll just watch the 7-second pass real quick. That was awesome. I mean, the car really was only out a real short time, but, you know, we felt like we had the recipe right away, so it actually felt like it took a while to get there, even though it didn't. Here's an inside view, which is pretty cool, I think. Just shows how easy it is to drive a car like this. I should have had gloves on, and my visor should have been down, but I had all my other safety equipment, so don't yell at me. Anyway, so there's that car. So that's like a turnkey build from beginning to end. I mean, I even drove the car for Jimmy in that case. Here's another car that is currently in the shop. Let me see. Oh, shit, I thought I had it queued up to the right spot. No, here it is. Now, this car you're not going to probably see too much at the drag strip, or at all at the drag strip, but you'll see it a lot in these kind of videos. This is when it was a stock engine. This is a Hellion twin turbo. This is owned by CJ. He likes to just mostly race on the street. This ZR1 is no joke. I'm not sure which ZR1 this is, but it's a very fast car. I mean, it just walks away from stuff. Look at this. You know, see ya. And this is a stock engine car. Everything else is done correctly. This car is currently in the shop getting ready for FL2K for all the goodies. Here's this. I really like this video. This is great. Here, let's watch this real quick. And then we'll actually talk about Carlos's car. Sorry to keep you waiting on that. So this is 1320 Texas 2K last year. CJ's in the far lane. You'll see why this is cool. There he is coming up. See ya. Now this is the
white Mustang on the outside came out. I think the bad motherfucker though.
that thing's a bad mother. You hear them talking about the car. I think they catch up with it and race it one more time.
Evenly matched with us, man.
There he is behind the Corvette.
Goddamn! He probably turned it down that time. That white Mustang, goddamn. I think that Corvette.
Anyway, so CJ's car is in the shop right now. That's a stock engine setup right there, and it was pretty hard to beat. Anyway, so let's go over Carlos's car real quick. Let's see. Hold on a second. Go back to that. Let me check the comments here real quick. If you guys have any questions, specifically for me, like not related to what we're talking about at the moment, you know, save those. We'll definitely go over that. I plan on staying on pretty long tonight. Hey, there's Mark. We got Mark's one of our 950 GT 500s. His car's badass. We talked about his car last week. Furious Fever 10R80. We'll go over all that and the limits of that and what's being done. There's, you know, there's a lot of question about 10R80 versus 6R80 because obviously if it's a 10R80 car or a 6R80 car, people probably stick with what they have. But there are people who want to, swap these 6R80 swaps. Are obviously have been popular for a long time. So now people are asking about 10R80 swaps, and it's hard to say. There aren't a whole lot of parts for the 10R80 yet, but I think they're holding up pretty good. I mean, it just depends on who you speak to. When I say hold up good, it depends. At this level that we're talking about, there's two totally different things. I mean, CJ's car, which you just saw, the turbo car versus Carlos's Whipple track car, are probably very different on the trans for very different ways. They're going to be hard on them both, but in different ways. Like Carlos's car, although that may see some street duty, it's mostly built for the drag strip, or it'll drive around fine too. But we built for performance. It's for the drag strip, and for drag racing, you sit around for hours, you make 10-second pass, and you let it cool down. So that's a little different than being out on the streets and doing highway pulls, 60 to who knows what, over and over and over again. No matter what, that's definitely going to be harder on the tranny as far as heat and, how often you're using it. But launching a car like you do a drag car is hard on it as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and, you know what? I didn't even have that link ready. Let me find it real quick. Let's go ahead and watch Carlos's video finally. I want to thank Sonic C6 Racing on YouTube. That's our local buddy, Frank. He did a badass job. When we when we headed to the track, we were supposed to go to the track to Orlando Wednesday, and there was rain in the forecast. But after seeing what it put down on the dyno, which we threw this thing on the dyno, and it made first off, Rarefab got the car done. We've been trying to get this car done forever. There's been so many hurdles. We'll go over the mod list in a minute, but this thing was trying to go to Texas, and we're barely making it for FL2K now. But But anyway, so we just decided to throw it on the dyno with 3.5 pulley, 20% overdrive, which is not nearly as much pulley as we normally run on these setups. But we just wanted to break the engine in, see what it made. Rob and I looked at each other and discussed it and guessed, like, oh, well, on 3.5, yeah, 1,000, whatever. And like 2 pulls later, without even trying, it cranked without leaning on the timing or just a good solid tune-up. It broke 1,100. Which is, for the 3.5 is very high. And these 10-speed cars don't always dyno exactly right, depending on what gear you're in and all that. So we were very excited about the possibilities. And that was it. We did like 3 dyno pulls. So then after that, we were trying to get to the track. We tried to go to Orlando. It looked like it was going to rain. We decided to leave anyway. We drove 2.5 hours and like half an hour away from the track. They canceled it due to rain. Started to rain. So there was no way they could have done it. So we turned around and, Palm Beach can be real questionable on test and tune days. They do a good job, or they try to do a good job. I'm friends with, some of the people that work there. They get a lot of flack. It's not the easiest track to prep on. It's in a swamp, especially when there's a lot of water comes up through the track. They try. So we didn't really want to go on a test and tune night, but we really wanted to try it out. So my plan was like, let's get to the track super early and just make a few hits on the 3.5, see where we're at. I'm not sure we'll have the track to try and set any records, which at that time, Carlos's car had the record as of Mod Nats last year with his Edelbrock setup that went, Carlos's car holds the record for the Roush 18 plus, the Edelbrock probably overall, but definitely 18 plus, and now the Whipple. But anyway, so let's go ahead and watch this real quick. Enough jabbering. So, but anyway, well, what I was saying was, we just went real quick. I did have a GoPro with me. I didn't really, I don't know. When I get in this mode, especially if I'm driving, it's a little difficult for me to do this sort of thing, because I don't want to get distracted. I'm trying to log the car. I'm trying to drive the car. I'm like, I'll do a camera later. I didn't expect it to go very well. And actually, let's go ahead and before we watch Frank's video, we'll watch just the very first pass or attempt at a pass, because I want to highlight how all this really goes down. The videos don't always show that, obviously. So hold on one sec. All right, so here's the so this is the very first pass. I get up there. I've driven this car before when it had the Edelbrock on it after the Mod Nats. I didn't drive it at Mod Nats last year because I was trying to go fast with my red car. Simon. Sorry, guys. Somebody's setting off fireworks. Hopefully that doesn't keep happening. So anyway, let's watch this real quick. Basically, the car has full BMR suspension and all Keltrack shocks and struts all the way around. So where do we start? We get up there. We ask Kelly where to start on the suspension. We just take a guess at tire pressure. I haven't driven the car in forever, and that's what happens. So we look at that and we decide, okay, the front end's coming up too quick. Probably needed more tire pressure. Maybe I was a little aggressive on the throttle. So after that, we decide I'm just going to kind of roll into it. We tighten the car up a little bit more tire pressure, and see what we get. So anyway, that's we're going to go ahead and this is Frank's video. Oh, let's go over the mod list real quick, which is right here, most of it. So let's go over that. Obviously, Rarefab built it. The Rarefab, I mean, I don't know what else you can say about those guys. They do an awesome job. They built Jimmy's car, this car, my red car. They do all the work on my GT 500. So, they're just the difference, when people start comparing prices on stuff or, wait times at shops or all the things that go into deciding who to use, there's a reason there's a wait, because I ran into a guy at the track, and the same thing happened with the tuning. The guy went somewhere else. He was supposed to come to us, went somewhere else, and he was wondering why his car wasn't shifting right. And he's like, well, I tried to come to you guys, but there was a long wait. And I was like, well, there's a reason. Anyway, so let's go over the list. Whipple, I can't say enough about Dustin Whipple and how supportive he's been of Palm Beach Dyno and just in general of the community and the type of owner he is and what he does for the community, because it's just, he doesn't need to continually push and push and push and push. He's super competitive and he wants his stuff to be the best. So it's good to be on Team Whipple for sure. RPG, Will built this engine. That's a sleeved long block. Will had a very fast Whipple car. I'm not sure if he still has it. Will does a lot of engines for Rarefab now. Injector Dynamics 1700s. These passes were on pump. I think we actually threw a can of Ignite in for the second pass, but just because it needed some fuel, not really because it needed Ignite. But there was pump in the tank. What else? Rarefab built the 10R80. For those of you guys that don't know, Rarefab is doing transmissions now, especially the 10 speeds. Not only the 10R80, but the 10R60. They've got some new stuff coming for the 10R80 as far as some different frictions and steels set up. And we're also going to have a package that you'll be able to buy through Palm Beach Dyno for the 10R60, which is in the Explorer. And I would assume that's what's in the new Bronco and all that. So we've got a deal working there to beef up those transmissions as well. The Explorer STs are super badass. What else? It's DSS axles, Circle D, the converter on this thing. When you hear it in the video, it's really, really close to right. But again, we're only on the 3.5 pulley. The plan was to go to the track, run like an 870 or so on the 3.5, and then slowly go down and pulley. But that's not what happened, and we just decided we're in good shape, and we left it on the 3.5. What else? Weld wheels. AC Carcraft did the cage in this setup. They did an awesome job, as always, on fab work. I recommend those guys. And TIG Vision, of course. TIG Vision does a lot of our stuff as well. So let's go ahead and watch this video finally. I'm going to narrate on this one real quick, just so you guys can get an idea what's going on. Right here, so that first pass, we spun like crazy. Like I said, I just rolled into it. Like, you can really see me roll and watch. I mean, that kills ET. And then you hear the tires kind of chatter a little bit there, too. I felt that in the car. The pass before it, when it spun really bad and actually kind of stepped sideways a little bit, it's a little bit hard to feel. I don't have a feel for the car yet. But I felt this, and I was just about to lift, but I'm glad it didn't. So anyway, watch it one more time. Here comes the GoPros. There's the time slip. Like I said, I did spin a little bit, very little bit, most of that 60 foot, which I would consider a poor 60 foot for a car like this. That was due to just, rolling into it because I was unsure of everything. Now, like I said, even though I rolled into it, we still spun, the tire still chattered. So after really looking over the video and going over things with Kelly from Track, which he was, I'm not going to make any promises for Kelly. He can't be there for everybody at all times, but he was there for us that evening, sent him the video, sent him the time slip. I had my own opinion of it, which, really meshed. Me and Kelly work really well together. Went over the car and said, all right, needs a little bit more tire pressure, a little bit of this, a little bit of that on the, we made adjustment to the shocks and the struts on this. And then I decided on this one, you can hear it. I'd have to look at the data log, which I'm not going to bring up, but, I probably barely brought it off idle, like 1200 RPM, and then rolled into it. So, after making these changes, we decided to go ahead and, stiffen up the car a little bit, more tire pressure. And I was going to try and bring it up a little bit more, like 14 or 1500. So this is what we wound up with. Sorry, guys. I'm going to pause that real quick and get my head out of the way. All right, there you go. So that's where things stand with the car. Like I said, the original plan was to step it down in pulley size quite a bit, to see where we can get with the car. But in fact, after the first pass, we were thinking about not even making another hit. But I was like, we got to at least see what happens with a little bit with the suspension changes. We didn't flash the car at all the whole time. The whole entire evening, Rob tuned the thing on the dyno, which I don't even know you would say tuned it. It's the culmination of all the tunes that we do wrapped up into that. Like I said, he made 2 pulls. So, we already have, some real fast. Nick just went real fast with his Whipple car. Lexi's been in the 8s with a heavier car. So, that's the advantage is we're able to prove these files over multiple cars to the point where, it should go pretty fast right away, but it went a little better than expected even. So, let's go over a couple questions real quick. Johnny Johnson. Yeah, we do tune EcoBoost Mustangs. We tune all EcoBoost, all of them. Let's see what else. Oil pump gears. Yep. If for safety, it's not a bad idea. Ken Barrett, what's up? In Hobe Sound. Tyler Olson, 10R60. It's basically the 10-speed. There's multiple 10 speeds. There's the 10R60, which is in the Explorer ST, and I assume any other smaller 10-speed applications. 10R80 in the Mustang, and then the 10R140 in the Super Duties, which is I have in my 2020 7.3 liter F250. Brandon, we haven't had it on the scales. It is lighter, a good chunk lighter than a lot of cars out there. I believe we're estimating it at just over 3,700 pounds with me in it. By like just under 180 maybe. Khaled, yes, that is a second gear leave. Definitely on these high-powered Whipple cars, first gear is so incredibly steep on the 10-speed that second gear works well. And we got a converter that works well with it, thanks to Circle D. The last pass, the time slip was in the video. I think we showed it. It was a 840 at 166 with a 130 60 foot. And if you watched, let's watch it one more time real quick. This is worth watching again, I think, especially in slow motion. Turn the volume down. That sounds retarded. Watch the way this thing rotates. We just need to leave harder now. Front comes up, barely tickling the ground, and the front stays squatted in the back. Front stays up, nice and planted. I mean, it felt perfect going down the track. Absolutely perfect. Anyway. All right. So, yeah, the time slip was up there. He just must have missed it. Tyler, we are working, Rarefab's working with a company for some stronger stuff for the 10R also. While we're working on the 10R80, while we're working on the 10R60, same company. A supercharged Coyote in a Gen 2 Lightning? I would think so. I've seen them in Gen 1. I've tuned one in a Gen 1 Lightning. Pedro, we haven't had good luck with Mantic either. As far as clutches, I would look into the new Lethal stuff, which is, a partnership they have with McLeod. It looks real good. I use McLeod a lot. I had a McLeod RXT in my 2015 Mustang, and then I had a 2016 Mustang. Both had Whipples on them. I liked it. And the Lethal one's supposed to be like a, improvement on that. So, Eric, on the rear, it has axles and it has a bunch of BMR parts, but good question. I don't know. I'm not sure if Carlos is on here or Will's on here or not from Rarefab. I'm not sure what's done to the rear end of that thing, to be honest with you. On Jimmy's car, we had a 9-inch in it. I know that Carlos definitely doesn't have a 9-inch, but I'm not sure what's been done to it to make it stronger. Chuck, we don't tune the 4R200, so I don't really have a good opinion on that. Probably best plan would be to speak to somebody who has one, I guess. Wicked Racing, yes, it does have an ice tank. Anything like this, if a car has an air-to-water intercooler, it makes sense to have an ice tank. Even on my 2020 GT 500, I was kind of anti-ice tank for a little bit because it makes it feel race car-ish. But, why wouldn't you try to cool off the air going into your car? You spend all that time, you wait hours in line to make a pass. It's not a really big deal to throw some ice in it. So, and just because you have an ice tank doesn't mean you have to put the ice in it, but it's nice to have the option. Slow A10. We are coming. Yeah. I thought you were talking crap. That's Austin. We got Austin on here. I don't have any videos of his. Maybe we'll talk about his car next week. We might have some videos. He went out and tested it in Mexico. His is a, I wouldn't call it all out. It's still a stock short block car, but other than stock short block, a pretty, pretty high effort NA setup. And we're shooting for the NA record. Overall, Coyote, automatic NA record at that point, you know, like 6-speed or 10-speed. Carlos just chimed in. His rear end is stock DSS drive shaft and axles. Kelly Aiken, you might have missed it, but we've been talking a lot about you and how everybody needs to get everything from you. I'm doing a new project, 7.3 in my 2005 Mustang, but it's just a shell right now, sitting on it's like sitting on casters. We would have started on it, but I'm not sure how to get it over to the shop. It's in storage and need to get a forklift to move it or something. But anyway, I called up Kelly or messaged Kelly and said, I need everything for this 05. And that's all I told him. He's going to do it all. He'll spec it all out for me. Let me know what I need. And if it doesn't run good, I'll blame him. I don't know. Don't ask me pricing on this. I'm not good at that. What do I think about the front fed supercharger versus rear feed? So like take the same supercharger, say like the 3.8 and like on a GT 500 versus like the rear feed on an older GT 500 versus a front feed on, say, like a Coyote or the new GT 500. I mean, I've never really spoken to Dustin about it on like an engineering standpoint, but I would think that the front feed has to make more power. I mean, you have certain things you have to deal with on the front feed that you're not dealing with on the rear feed, like the shaft and where it goes and if that interferes with the airflow. But in general, I just, it makes sense that the front feed is going to work better. But the rear feeds have come such a long way that I don't think it's a huge issue. I mean, Alan just proved that with his Cobra going. When I heard he went 8s with a stick shift, that was amazing enough. But when I saw the video, I couldn't believe that was an 8-second pass because it was just so out of control in the first and second gear. So, you know, he's making plenty of power with his rear feed. We'll go ahead and save some of these questions till a little bit later. I want to go ahead and move on and talk about some of the parts we have coming. If anybody has any particular questions on Carlos's car, what the plan is with that car, which I said we were going to talk about the plan moving forward, is we're going to be taking that thing to FL2K and whenever that is, the beginning of October. We'll run True Street with that pretty much as the car sits, other than more pulley. And then after that, we might get it even more extreme with weight. We're just going, we're shooting for the first 7-second supercharged car. And, we're going to do our best to come after the 10-speed turbo cars too with this blower. And then, it won't be long after that the 3.8 Whipple goes on it. So, at that point, we should have enough power to really hang with anything. That's where power management becomes a little bit more of a challenge. But, the longer we do this, the better we get at things like power management. So, it'll be an interesting battle. And we'll have CJ's twin turbo Hellion car, which is going to be a roll monster. And it'll be nice to baseline Carlos against that. For those of you guys that like roll racing, Carlos's car went a 348 on a 1040 pass or 840 pass. So we got 6 more pounds of boost to go. So it's going to be pretty quick when it's all said and done. Yeah, the Mach 1, I think it's a cool package, but it's not going to really be any different as far as modifying it than anything else. So we'll definitely be working on that. So let's talk about some new products. We have a brand new product, not that we're teaming up with LMT on, late model throttle. for the 2020 GT500. Not the throttle body. We do have that coming. That's coming out real soon. In fact, they may be sold out before I get them in stock. We'll hopefully have them in the next week or so, and make sure you get your orders in for those. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about some new products coming from SPE, and these are not GT500 products. You guys are probably sick of GT500. I'm sorry I post so much about my GT500, but I love it. Anyway, look at this bad boy. This is SPE has some amazing products in the pipeline. There's a lot of them, and I'm going to talk about a few of them today. This is obviously a competing product to some stuff that's already out there. But you know, I very much believe in SPE and Dan and their company and the way he designs things and everything about it. So, I'm not sure at what phase he is in the development of this intake, but obviously it's a intercooled intake. We've got some other pictures of it we'll throw up over here. There's a side view of it. As you can see, the air comes in here, and then your intercooler, 1,500 horsepower intercooler core is here. And then here's a better picture of that. It's going to blow here. I mean, the intercooler's missing at this point. It's going to blow up through here into that plenum. That has that nice, you can see, that's not a good picture of it. There you go. You got like the nice split plenum deal to direct the air from the core to the rest. Let's see. Here's another cool picture of it. So I'm not really sure the time frame on this, but I think it's going to be pretty soon. So, Ninja, that setup, you know, anything really. You could do Supercharger. You know, you're not going to do obviously a Whipple, but you could do a Sentry or a turbo setup with that. It's a great. It's really an awesome way to do things. That's why you see so many cars doing it this way right now. It's a really nice compact package. It saves a lot of weight because you're putting the intercooler and everything all together, so you don't have a lot of piping. The more piping you have in a turbo setup, the less efficient it's going to be. It's just how it works. So, you know, the more bend you have and all that is bad. So a setup like this is great. These types of intakes, just from a tuning perspective, work well on stock computed cars up to a certain point. At some point, you have to consider the mass air meter. Now, we have been working on some map-based tuning with stock computers. We've done that with Baton Motorsports. They had a 2003 Cobra. We used an F-150 truck PCM with a map sensor and no mass air meter, so you would be able to run an intake like this. But running it with a mass air meter, once you hit a certain boost level or power level, I'm talking like 14 or 1,500 horsepower. If you have the mass air before the intercooler, you can run into heat issues and the mass air meter could melt. So you want either what we're working on the stock computer, or you go to an aftermarket computer, standalone type of deal, which at that power level isn't always the worst idea, depending on the application. Let's see. It's a 1,500 horsepower core S550 Alex on the intercooler, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, I mean, you know, this manifold with a lot of things is going to be badass. You know, like when you deal with most street turbo kits, here's a good example. So you go and you get, you've got your new stock Mustang and you get a new badass Hellion twin turbo kit for it. It's awesome. And it's, you know, it's going to be extremely fast as it comes with that intercooler. But at some point, if you're really getting after it, you're going to run out of intercooler. That always happens. So then what happens? Do you start cutting up your car and trying to get a big air-to-air in it? There's some, you know, argument for that for sure. And there's people that go that route. But at some point, if you're really going after it, I still think air-to-water is a good idea. I mean, look at Justin Jordan, for instance. He went sixes with a basically stock Hellion setup, except on his setup, he switched to the Hellion air-to-water, which is another great option. But if you need an intake manifold anyway, and this is out with everything integrated into one, it's a great option. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that. Let's see. So another big product coming from SPE that, I get this question all the time. And I don't really work on this stuff as much as I used to, or really at all, except my own car a little bit, but not really. Will from Rarefab does a lot of that. And on the F-150 hat, I never really understood why nobody had an F-150 fuel hat, a really good one. There's been, DIY style setups like we've seen on the Mustang, but nothing like what we see on the Mustang as far as the nicer stuff with the billet hat and everything's just like right. And that's because it's a lot more complicated of a setup than I realized. So SPE has this bad boy coming. Check this out. This is so awesome. Now, this is not a picture. This is a rendering. So this is going to be a direct 4-pump drop-in for 15-plus F-150. It does not fit, Sean, if you're still here. It's not going to fit 11 through 14 F-150. I think they do plan on covering that, but there's some changes to it where this will not work. So this is a huge deal. There's a here's a 3D printed model of it. So as you can see, it's going to be really badass when it goes together. Everything hooks up like factory. It's going to be, a really true drop-in setup for the F-150. Due to the complexity of it, it's obviously going to, yeah, Sean, you'll make it fit. Yeah, I mean, that's up to you if you want to try, but I think he's going to do an 11 to 14, so let's see how long that's going to be before that happens. But it's super badass that, they're bringing this sort of stuff to the market for us. It's sure going to making big power in an F-150 a lot easier where you have like parts you can rely on. So SPE's been kick-ass. They're doing a kick-ass job on the Whipple stuff. Or excuse me, not the Whipple stuff, the GT500 stuff. We've been working with them on all kinds of things coming to market. They have an auxiliary tensioner coming. New pulley sizes are going to be up on the website, 2.4. What else? The fuel system. The fuel system for the GT500. And that hat will work on anything 11 to current Mustang. But we're concentrating on the GT500 system right now. So I really like the SPE stuff. I like the company, so I would definitely support those guys. So anyway, now I want to talk about the new. Anybody have any questions on those SPE products or SPE in general? Well, before we move on, Doug, that hat will support more power than you will ever make in your truck because it can take 4 pumps. And like, to give you an example, you got guys. I mean, Justin Jordan went 6s. I believe he had a triple pump system in his car. I could be wrong. But I know a lot of guys are running, including myself up until recently, in their twin turbo Coyotes are only running 3 pumps and supporting 1600 horsepower. And the SPE can do 4 pumps. So it really just, it just depends on, how many pumps you want to run, really. 4 pumps, I don't see a ton of people needing, but it's nice to know it's there for sure. Sean, 15 tank and an 1114. You would know that better than me if it would work. Sabino, on the pumps. No, I don't. 18 Edelbrock. I mean, there really should be no reason. It depends on how you have them configured. I'd like to see that as far as 1 pump on all the time, 2 pumps on all the time. But you really shouldn't be going through pumps like that. I guess it depends on what pump too. Need to know what pump. You can put a lot of different pumps in their hat. Doug, yeah, your truck is at our place. So the hat, I'll get a time frame on the hat. As you saw, there was a 3D printed model, so I assume Dan was testing that out for fitment and all that. So it's not, that's as far as it's gotten, but it's coming. Let's see. Jay Hunter, no, I don't. Not many people stock Whipple kits for lots of reasons. One reason I love Whipple is they're always improving their product. So, they're constantly making changes to their blower, and the blower kits are configured different ways. So most people don't stock them. The only chance you'd have of seeing a kit in stock would be to call our partner Lethal Performance. They're probably like the biggest Whipple dealer in the country, and if anybody has one, they may have like the more common configurations, but we definitely don't. In fact, Whipple is so popular right now, if I ordered you one, it's 6 to 8 weeks right now, I think. So if you want a Whipple, get in line, especially after we make a couple more passes with Carlos's car. If you think it's fast in that video, just wait. I have no idea on the release date on the F-150 stuff. When it's done, it's done. I don't really give dates on stuff because then everybody gets mad, and you're getting mad at me for bringing you good news. So that doesn't make much sense, does it? So you don't get any dates. You just get it when you get it. All right, so I want to talk about this new product we have coming for GT500 with late model throttle. So there's the GT500 Supercharger. It's a great supercharger. Ford did a great job with it, but stuff like this, they don't obviously design it for what we're doing with it, which is making, we're shooting for almost double the factory horsepower if you look at it that way, double. My car, we're not going to get the double, but we're shooting. My car put down like 660 stock. Our goal is 1,200 at the wheels with this supercharger. Well, by the time it's done, we're going to have changed quite a bit to it, but that's the fun part of it, right? So what's the new part? Right here on the top, you can see there's the supercharger lid, and that's all cool with the snake on there, and the ribbing looks all great and everything. But if you were to look at the cutaway of it, so the air goes in here, and that's one spot that Joker's Performance and all the other blower porter guys. I work closely with Joker's and late model throttle now, and that's what's on my car. And if I have to recommend anybody, I would recommend them. But I do work with all the other blower porting companies, at least the three others that I hear about all the time, and I've ported them all, and I try to get along with everybody, and they're all great. So just because I talk about Jokers all the time doesn't mean I don't like Kong or Jason at 1320. I talk to him pretty often, or Brett Barber. They're all good, and things are constantly developing. But I work with Jokers. I'm a kind of business now with late model throttle on this new product and on the throttle bodies. So what are we doing? Well, the issue here to me and what we've seen is at lower boost levels, the car really pulls great RPM, but obviously as boost goes up, we lose a little bit. Now, you are fighting the efficiency of the inlet, and that there's a lot of work being done there on Jokers for that, a lot. And we're testing new stuff. I believe Mark is testing the newest version of the blower. I have like a stage 2 or version 2. Mark's on version 3. And we're testing that. That's all inlet stuff. There's a little outlet stuff that we've done over here also. But the big problem is after the intercooler. So I, in discussions with Jeff at Late Model and Brett, we talked about, airflow. And the first thought was to modify the stock lid. Hey guys, real quick, if you want any kind of questions unrelated to what I'm talking about, you might want to hold those till later because I'm not going to go back and look. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, but you can ask those in just a little bit. Anyway, so we were going to take a stock lid, cut it, reshape it, play with it. But Jeff did one better, and now we have this design, which is an all-new lid. But actually, before I show you that, I'm going to show you, let's see, what did I do with it? Crap. Oh, here it is. So this is a good good rough idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. So the blue is the intercooler, and the yellow is the stock lid, which we saw this cut away and how there was just such a small little gap for this air to turn. And even under boost, air has to turn and hit corners. And as boost goes up and flow goes up, well, as flow goes up, that becomes more difficult even under boost situations. A lot of people think, in boost, you don't really need good flow, but you do, at least if you want to, win. If other people are trying to improve that and you're not, then you're going to lose. So that's basically the idea in any kind of motorsport. If you're not trying to improve, you're eventually going to lose because the other guy's going to. So what do we have here? This green line is the inside profile of the new hat. So as you can see, there's a huge difference in how much air we can pass through this core and the shape of it. So instead of it hitting a flat lid that is somewhat directed to go outward and down into the port, you have this nice radiused lid on the inside that's going to provide a lot more flow, and also the shape of it's a lot better. So let's look at the 3D model of it right here. So, I've showed this, I've talked this a few people about this, and the first thing they say is like, well, why don't you just do a blower spacer? A lid spacer to space the lid up. Well, you can't do that because, as you can see right here, you have a pass-through for the intercooler stuff. So if you were to space that up, that's not going to line up. And in general, the shape of the lid, we wanted to improve on the shape of the lid too. So here's the inside of it. So as you can see, compared to stock, it's just so much better. So here's the cool thing. We discussed this a month or two ago, but Jeff didn't start working on this until last week. And when I got this model, I was blown away. I was like, wow, I can't believe you got all that done already. And it's not like he just had it done and popped it up out of nowhere. I mean, he sent me like a really basic one, and like not very long after that, we got to this point. But he didn't stop there, because look at that. Boom. It's almost done. There's the inside of it. As you can see, the machine work is just out of this world. Look at that. Unbelievable. I cannot wait to bolt this to my car. I wish I had a picture of the inside of the stock lid, but I mean, basically it's just flat right across there, and then there's just like a little lip there to direct the air. And then this is not the final pass, I don't believe. I know it's not. I can just tell by looking at it. But there's the outside, the first pass on the outside of the lid, which obviously I'll post all this stuff once we get there you go. There's a close-up. So all that'll be smoothed down. It's going to be pretty badass. Now, as far as, what is this going to turn into product-wise? Well, we don't really know yet, because you basically, the first question I got when I talked to some people about this was, well, what exactly are we going to, how many are you making? What's the cost going to be? I don't know. We can't sell you a product that we don't even know if it works, right? It's beautiful. It seems on paper like it's going to make 1 million horsepower, but of course that's not going to happen. So we'll test it and see what it does. I mean, I got this picture yesterday, so I would assume it's going to be done this week, and it'll probably take me a little time to get it on my vehicle. So the game plan for this product is going to be to get it on the vehicle, test it. We'll baseline it, change nothing else, and then put this on it and test it. And we're going to be checking everything. We're going to be checking, mostly how it affects boost and the map reading at higher RPM. So we'll see. Then if it works, then we have to decide, well, what application does it work on? It's obvious. My car right now is one of the more powerful ones. It put down 1100. And we're hoping that it's going to put down closer to 1150 with this and a fuel system and more pulley and all that. So if it works on that, that's great. But we also want to test it on, lower powered vehicles, cars on stock boost. I mean, hell, we'll probably throw it on a bone stock vehicle. Maybe it'll make an extra 10 or 15 horsepower. So, of course, this cannot be a cheap product. There's no way it's economical to do it this way. It starts out as 100 pounds of aluminum, 100-pound solid block of aluminum. Obviously, it's got a ton of machine time. So this thing's going to be over $1,000. But if there's enough demand for it and it makes power on a stockish vehicle or just a lightly modified vehicle, then we'll probably go ahead and do a casting of this. And then at that point, it'll become very economical. As far as the finish on the top of it, we're not allowed to put a snake on it to sell it that way. So we'll have to decide what we're going to do about that. You're not going to be able to get the snake off your stock one. I personally would like mine to look kind of stockish, but people may want different things. We can anodize them different colors. Black anodized may look cool. Who knows? So anyway, Nick, the race to the sevens is on. Yeah, buddy. Oh, I missed some of that conversation. Let me go back and read here a little bit real quick. Jordan, flex fuel, coyotes. Yeah, we do. We do some flex fuel. I'm not a big fan of flex fuel unless the strategy that you're tuning supports all the features that you need for flex fuel. A lot of the Mustang stuff doesn't. So when some tuners support flex fuel and we don't, it's because we're not really happy with the way it's implemented. Sean, we talked about that earlier. You may want to go back and look in the beginning later when we're done with this, but CJ's twin turbo Hellion car is going to be a roll monster. It's not, that one's not going to be a drag car, but it's going to be a badass car. We've got all kinds of real big builds going on though. Let's see what else. Road cone. Look at this, man. 3 comments in a row with 3 of the baddest Whipple S550s in the world. All tuned by Palm Beach Dyno. We got Terry, Carlos, and Nick. Nick's been 860s with his 10-speed. Carlos has obviously been 10, or did I say 1060s? 860s, 840s for Carlos, and Terry with road cone. Terry, what's your best? I forget. I'm not really sure. I know it's pretty fast. Miguel, TCM tuning on GT500. I just get it out of your head. It's not going to happen for a while. 850s on Terry. That's awesome. And Terry's car, Terry's car is like, I haven't seen it in person in a long time, but from what I remember, it's like straight up heavy street car. It's not like, max effort on the weight end of things. It has a really super nice cage in it. It's all finished super nice. It's like a show car, street car, race car, all at the same time. All right, guys. So that's kind of what I had planned for showing you guys new products. I'm really excited about that lid. You guys will see that more information about that coming up soon. But let's go ahead and take any random questions you guys might have, or we can talk about anything really. If somebody wants to bring something up. How much stronger is the GT500 5.2 as compared to the GT50 on the fence between getting a 500 or a regular 50? Okay, well, that's a good question. Trying to decide between a GT and a GT500, you got a lot of things to consider. The engine strength is definitely one of them. I would say the GT 500 engine, we don't know yet because I don't know of anybody that we've tuned or anybody that's been tuned or pushed the cars very hard. I don't know of a single one that's failed. So that's got to tell you something. I would think on the regular, you can make 11 to 1200. I know Lee Dennis, who's our fastest guy right now, he also has nitrous on it. We haven't talked about that much because when we post his times, he's not on nitrous. He's been faster on nitrous, but it hasn't been like a significant difference. So we're not talking about that yet. But the point is he's spraying nitrous on top. He's going 950s at full weight and then spraying on top of that. So, I mean, he's probably well over 1100 horsepower, hitting it hard on the street. Hey, Mom, my mom's on here. Nah, I definitely no. I don't care about an extra couple pounds of aluminum on the top. I think the top looking like a V would not look good. Sorry, we actually did that at first. It looks bad. Not, I mean, you can make it look good, but we're looking for the stock look. I mean, if somebody really wanted to do that, I guess we can make a custom one. But as far as back to deciding between a GT 500 and a GT, the GT 500 engine is definitely stronger. But it just really depends on how far you're going to go with the car. Both engines are plenty strong enough for like 900 rural horsepower. So at that point, the engine strength isn't as important. You know, it's really gonna come down to if you're really a hardcore drag racer and like you're really going from best ET like 8 seconds, like for sure, it's hard to argue against a 10-speed transmission over the DCT setup, just because it's just meant for drag racing. DCT is awesome. I love my GT 500, but it's you know, if it's ever going to be as fast, I doubt. I hate to say never, but I really don't think that they'll ever be as quick. If you take a 10-speed GT versus a DCT GT 500 at the same weight, same power, everything, I just can't see the DCT ever going as fast as the 10-speed. From a roll, maybe, but even then, I'm not sure, but not from a dig. Sabino, thank you. Do you recommend going with 15-inch conversion on a 10-speed, making around 950? No, especially with the way most people do it. SPE, AD had those knuckles that they came out with that seemed to work pretty well, but they're not in production currently. I think SPE is actually coming out with a completely different setup, but that will be a 15-inch conversion. But without those, where you're really re-engineering the rear and getting a wider wheel in there and getting the proper placement of the wheel, we've gone 120 60 foots on 17-inch wheels on the S550 IRS. So, you know, you can make an argument that the 15's better, and I won't argue against that, but you can do a lot with the 17. So. Boosted F-150, yes. Yes and yes. That has Frankenstein heads on it. I think we forgot to mention that. Sorry about that, Frankenstein. That wasn't our video, though, Frank. Maybe nobody told Frank. I'll make sure everybody gets proper credit. We haven't even done... I don't even have a picture of the car, hardly, to post. So we'll post all that stuff up with the proper information. But, yeah, it had Frankenstein heads, and it had the race port on the blower that you probably heard about. Works really well. There's the man, Rob, the tune maker, shoemaker. Great job on that tune. Literally, I swear to God, I didn't even touch the tune. In fact, when we got to the track, my only job the whole night on Carlos's car was to drive the car and log the car and then make changes to the tune if necessary. Well, I get there, and I'm trying to set up, and I realize I don't have a long enough USB cable to log the car properly. So, like... usually I can find one under somewhere. Somebody has a phone charger that has a long cable on it I can use. Nothing. So I had to unbolt the OBD2 port from under the dash, stretch the wiring harness. I had my brand new, like super nice laptop with a 4K screen. Like I don't even like, just I don't want it to get scratched. I had the only place it would fit with the cable I had was behind the driver's seat, like kind of shoved under. I mean, I'm like, my laptop is destroyed. So I made 2 passes that way. The one where we spun, and then the one where we went 10 or 8:48. And then I was like, we're not even logging anymore. I'm not going to ruin my laptop. But that's because Rob's kicking ass on everything. But we really got a super badass Whipple tune dialed in. So anyway, back to the wheel conversion thing. I would just stick with 17s unless, like, you know, you can get your hands on a set of those AED knuckles, or down the road, if SPE decides to make their setup, then I would do that then. The problem with putting a regular 15 on the way people have done it in the past is you can't get the proper alignment. The alignment is so important on these cars. I can't stress it enough. That was one of the biggest, not the biggest, but it was very important to Jimmy's success on the first 7-second 680 car. Carlos's car was aligned at the same place. We have a place that we love the way they align cars. If you have a GT 500 or 2020, and you're going to be primarily a straight line person, get it to the alignment shop. I haven't done mine yet, but you have a negative 2 degrees of camber, which not only destroys the tires in a straight line, but it really hurts you, obviously. And, you know, when the car squats, it's only going to get worse. Lee Dennis went ahead. Ford Performance, it's like negative 2 degrees stock. Ford Performance recommends taking 1 degree out, so you'd be at -1. Lee Dennis put his at 0 as an experiment, and it did well. Let's talk about Lee Dennis's car real quick. For those of you that follow him on social media, he went and raced Street Speed 717 with the ZR1, and he did well. He had to use everything he had, but he did well. I'm not sure how quickly Street Speed will get that video up, but Lee probably will have his own video up of that soon. Tang Stang GT 500 on YouTube and Instagram, and Lee Dennis on Facebook. All right, so what else? Anything going on, guys? We got a lot of people in here. Take all kinds of questions. We've got wrapping up Labor Day weekend sale. I don't know, today may be the last day. We don't do those kind of sales much directly on our own website, but we work with Lethal Performance to do those sorts of things. So get on over to Lethal Performance if you want one of our tunes. We've been doing a lot of EcoBoost stuff lately. We pretty much support almost all EcoBoost. We just have to get it all up on the website. Things that we support that are not on the website right now, which are going up, is Edge ST, MKZ, all the Lincoln stuff, the Aviator, which is like the Explorer ST. We've been tuning those forever. We just don't list them separately. But some people don't know they're the same as an ST. So, Paul, all motor, what cams do I suggest? It really depends. You know, there's not one home run setup. It kind of depends on what you're doing. Is it a stock short block, stock compression? You know, what RPM range do you want to spin? What kind of fuel you're going to run? What converter do you want to use? All those sorts of things are really important. And it also obviously depends on what generation. That's going to be a different answer. Gen 1, 2, or 3 Coyote. Stacy, what is my opinion on the Roush 2650 on the F-150? The Roush 2150 to me, or 2650 on an F-150 to me is, I call it a performance blower, not a high performance blower. So you can throw one of those on a truck or a Mustang and get a nice bump, you know, in the 600 wheel range, 700 wheel range. But beyond that, it's done. For lots of reasons. The intercooler design, there's just a lot of reasons that blower is not really, even though the confusion is, you know, the old 2.3 Roush blower, the rear inlet style was a great blower. Lots of people have done well with that blower. So they go, well, a 2.3, now it's a 2.65 or 2650, whatever you want to call it. But it's not the same. There are so many other things changed for the bad that it's not a great blower to push the limits. But if you just want a super badass, like, 600 horsepower truck, which is pretty badass. It's not a bad way to go. But yeah, as Doug said, F-150 Whipple, especially now. Whipple just came out with the Gen 5 blower for the F-150, and Mustang guys might not want to hear this, but it's actually even a little bit better than the normal Whipple kit for the Mustang, because the F-150 has more room to play with on the hood. The lid's taller and all that. That's one thing, to think about when we do things like Carlos's car and it's a Whipple and all that. I want to be completely clear what's going on here. Now, this is not the normal kit that you buy for your street car. It has a few differences. It's the Cobra Jet setup. It's got the Cobra Jet lid and all that, the Cobra Jet front drive with the alternator move. This is like, for all out performance, but it doesn't fit under the stock hood, and you have to, move a bunch of stuff around. That, and it has the race port on it. The regular Whipple Gen 5 is a super badass blower, and it could do really, really well. But the reason I bring this up is if you're building a car where you're willing to sacrifice a lot of things for performance and you're going all out for records, you need to start down the path of the Cobra Jet blower instead of like the standard blower. Don't say fuel system and fire in the same sentence, Jess. That's bad luck. All right, let me go back up here. Nick, Gen 3 boosted option. Here's the deal. I don't see how you can make an argument for cams on a Gen 3 engine, because we're spinning these things to 85, 8600 RPM, and they're making great power. They're still pulling. So, normally cams are going to mostly affect the RPM range. When we're already getting 8,500 plus RPM, I don't know why you would want to change the cams. That's why on Carlos's car we didn't. Carlos has stock cams, but he does have the heads. I do think the heads are a good way to go. You've got we work with a lot of different people. Again, if you hear me mention a name, that doesn't mean I don't use somebody else. Like Austin, who works for us in sales, he's just got done with his NA setup, and Dave from Head Games did his heads. Dave from Head Games is super badass. His head's on the world's fastest stick shift H-pattern car out there, the Supra, Joel Granis Supra. These heads on Carlos's car are done by Frankenstein, which is probably another awesome option. So, there's so many good companies out there, you really can't go wrong. Let's see, what else? Danny M. Best mod to go faster on a 5,000 budget for a 2011 to 14 Mustang S197. Well, it depends. 11 to 14, you got to be, the engine's a little more fragile than the newer ones for sure. It depends on where you want to go fast. If you just want to go fast on the street, it's a little easier because you don't have to worry about as much about suspension and everything that you need to go fast at the track. So for $5,000, that's a good enough chunk of money that you might be able to throw something together, like with like a used Vortec kit. I'm a big boost guy. $5,000, you can easily eat that up in an NA project, and you can go fast NA, but to go really fast NA, it gets expensive. So I wouldn't throw $5,000 at an NA project, but Austin probably threw that and more, and his car is super fast, like crazy fast. So it just depends on what you want to get. If I had $5,000, I'd probably go try to find like a used Supercharger or Vortex setup. That's probably your best bet. D. Thimish, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. I have a 19 A10 car that I'm dropping off to you guys for Rarefab to install a Whipple fuel system, PBD tune. How much? 4-inch upper. You say you're doing a fuel system. It depends. A 4-inch upper and a 20% lower. That's a little bit of a weird combination. I'm not sure exactly how much boost that would make. If you're doing a fuel system, though, I assume that you're doing E85. That's super important. That's a super important difference on 18 plus Gen 3s is they're so high compression that they do okay on pump gas, but not phenomenal. So, like, you know, the potential's through the roof on E85 or race gas, but on pump gas, doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to be limited to like that 700-ish range. Brandon, BA Motorsports, we going to see what well, hold on. I gotta read that like Brandon would say it. We gonna see what a F1 A94 can do. No, sorry. At 8,500 in a few weeks. Whose car is that on, Brandon? E85. The on the 4-inch is good for the 93. And hopefully, it'll probably just make right at that 700 on 93. I would recommend maybe even doing a little bit more pulley than that for your E85 setup, depending on if you have enough fuel system. On the 4-inch upper, it still should make, 800, maybe a little bit less, but I would put more pulley on it. Paul, man, you're way too generous. I'll definitely buy all the guys lunch on that one tomorrow, maybe. Appreciate it. Let me back up here. Brandon, on a 2019, whose car is that? Sleeper 50. What's the best order to buy suspension parts for a 19 10R80 Hellion Sleeper setup? Give us a call. We have some suspension packages we've put together for that. One of the first things I would do, you can hit us up for all that sort of stuff. For shocks and struts, we're pretty much going with Kel-Track on everything from here on out. Kelly has that stuff nailed, so we can spec out what we would recommend for you there. I just got a message. Let's see here. Jeff has new lid pics. He probably didn't like me posting that top lid of it on the first stage, so now holy cow. All right, hold on a second, guys. Let me get this up. Oh my God, this looks so cool. All right. I'm not even going to put my face on this one. Look at that. Man, that is so cool. Hold on. Let me I don't want to bring my FB up in case something pops up. I'll have to show this. This was in my FB too. Look at that. Rob the Two Maker Shoemaker. Oh, he's got the same shirt. Where'd you get that shirt, Rob? My mom bought me this shirt. I was just trying to be a little bit more colorful than I usually am. Let's see. Let's see if Jeff has another. I think he has more pictures here. Hold on. There's another picture. Man. Whoops. Oh, there's a cool video. That kind of shows you what goes into stuff like this. So, you don't just carve a whole bunch of crap out of metal and hope it works. This is stress testing at super high boost to see where any kind of weaknesses are. So, these guys do it right. So, anyway. Let's keep going here. Rommel, what kind of limitations would you expect out of F-150 Gen 3? On the F-150, it should be just as strong as the Mustang setup. So, once you start crossing that 900 horsepower range, you know, you got to start really being a little concerned on a stock engine. But, you know, we've done it plenty of times. Oh, Sean Foist. Yeah, cool. I didn't know he was going to F1 Procharger. I know he's got the Procharger on it. Sean, for those of you guys don't know, is the drummer of Breaking Benjamin. We tune his vehicle. Let's see. Ben, how long should my MT82 last if Jess drives it after your tune? 4.3 seconds. Yeah, that was a cool picture, yeah, I can't wait to see this lid done. I mean, it looks amazing. So hopefully we can get it on real quick. I'm running a little behind on testing. I got to get this fuel system done. Maybe we'll do the fuel system. Hold on a second, guys. Is everything coming through okay? Let's see. All right, I think it is. Sorry, I thought there was a problem with the feed. All right, let's get back to some questions. Thanks, Kristen. Thoughts on Siley twin pump fuel kit? You know, that's a tough topic. I don't like commenting on products that I don't recommend that product. Let's put it that way. So I don't want to comment a lot on it, but as far as I know, unless something's changed, there's no fuel filter on that kit, and that's the main reason I don't like it. So we'll just leave it at that. Vortec JTB on an 18 Mustang 10-speed, what kind of power would it be able to make on E85? Again, that really, you know, on any 18, any power adder on the E85 should be able to make 900 plus. Well, not like a Roush 2650, but any Vortec Procharger, Whipple, anything like that. Edelbrock, they'll all make 900 plus. So really it just depends on if you have enough fuel system to get to that point, and if you want to. I'm not recommending going to 900. Most people, you know, everybody asks me like, how much power can this support? How much power can that support? How much it can support, as far as how much, you know, will it make is one thing, but how much can it safely make? That's. If you've ever asked me that question on Facebook, you know the answer is, if you're worried how much power you can make safely, then don't modify your vehicle, because that's the answer. Because the chances are that there's people out there that have vehicles fail when they haven't modified it. So how do we know if we modify it and something fails that had anything to do with the modifications and it just didn't fail, period? So there's always a chance something's going to happen. The 10R80 is going to dyno inconsistently because it's not that it's inconsistent. The same car will dyno consistently, but depending on the gearing of the vehicle, and this is not just the 10R80, it's also, I see this on stick shift Coyotes with 331 gear versus a 373 gear, and if you're going to dyno in the 1-to-1 gear versus not. You know, typically on a 10R80 car, we dyno in 6th gear if it has a 315. Otherwise, you're going like crazy speeds on the dyno. Same thing with a 331 car versus a 373 car. You can dyno it in 5th on the 331 car, but sometimes the car just won't make as much as if you dynoed it in 4th because of tire temps, because the pull is so long, all kinds of reasons. So, you know, that's why dyno numbers are just dyno numbers. Let's see what's really going to tell you what kind of performance you're making. And nowadays we have draggy, so you don't even have to go to the drag strip if you don't want to, is going to be trap speed at the drag strip is really going to tell you, unless you just really super suck at shifting, you're always going to trap fairly well, like the same, even if you don't launch well. With a draggy, I was going to say 60 to 130 times tell the story, but not as much as trap speed, because trap speed, you could kind of really not do a good job, and the trap is still going to be about what it will trap. But a 60 to 130 is, if you don't have traction, it's not going to be very good, period, no matter how much power you have. So it does help if you can get traction. Sabino, yes, we do tune 10 or 80s, or excuse me, build them. We don't build them, but we build, again, I don't want to be a broken record, but we operate kind of in conjunction with Rarefab next door. They do all the mechanical work and do all the builds, and they do 10R80s now. They built the 10-speed in Carlos's 840 car, so yeah, we can definitely take care of you. Sleeper 50, thank you. Wanted to buy us pizza. Man, we're going to be eating lunch good for the next week or two with you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Jed had both my TI 267 267 fuel pumps die, 5,000 miles. Fuel pump socks had gray, gritty stuff on it. Force setup. Tank never under. Fuel always tested good. I would say it's contaminated fuel, Jed. If it's pump E85, here's the problem with pump E85. In some areas, we don't have this problem much in Florida. There was a rash of it for a while at one pump, but here's the main issue. Even if it tests at 85, it tests good. It has 85% ethanol. What's the other 15%? That's your issue. There's not a lot of regulations on what that has to be. It has to be hydrocarbons. It's not 93 octane. I'll tell you that much. It's not 87 octane. And I think depending on where you're filling up and where that fuel is getting made or mixed, or I'm not even sure how that works and where it all gets put together, the ethanol and with the pump gas to make E85. But I think in some areas they're not using very good stuff for that extra 15%. And that's where you're getting all this crap in your fuel. JP's Coyote, have you seen any good gains going from a Gen 2 to a Gen 3 or 4 Whipple on a 15 through 17 GT? Yeah, I don't have any of those links handy, but we definitely did some back-to-back testing on that. I don't remember if it was 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, but we did it on a Boss. So if you go to our YouTube channel and search for like Boss or anything like that, it was a back-to-back on a Boss. Definitely worth it over Gen 2. Gen 3 and 4. I mean, each stage is better, and they're all worth it. Thanks, Reese. I appreciate it. Prestige Carpentry. Oh, man, when you guys don't have your real names, it's hard to know, but I know his business. That's Brian, Mr. World's most highest video ever on Palm Beach Dino. His Explorer video has like 200,000 views. As far as how it's coming, good question. I think everything's running good with it. We're just Will's got to throw in the other injectors now that everything's running good, and we should be ready to rock here soon. Paul, no E anywhere in New York. Nope. I grew up on Staten Island. Brickhouse, on a blown F-150, what seems to be the best gearing option? Gearing's going to come down to I need to know more information. Tire size, power, things like that. So it just really depends. Generally, you don't need much gear on a any blown Coyote with a factory transmission because you have such a steep first gear. So in general, the least amount of gear, the better. Unless you just have on a truck, you might have big tires on it. So I don't know. How can we get an F-150 10R80 5.0 into the 9s? Would blower or turbo be better? I think we can do that pretty easily in both. It just really depends. Again, all F-150s are not created equal. A single cab short bed is way easier to go 9s than like a big one for sure. So it depends on where you want to go there. We have a customer with a Whipple who's been like 1080s with a full size, crew cab. That same setup in a single cab probably would be real close to the 9s already. And that's, I don't think that was a super crazy setup. Made a lot of power though. It's a heavy truck. It went 370 to 60 in on the street, 4-wheel drive. Hey, Paul. Westerly. Yeah, I went to Port Richmond High School. I didn't graduate from there. I moved in my senior year of high school to Cincinnati, Ohio. But yeah, all my siblings graduated from Port Richmond, and I was born and raised on Staten Island. Definitely a little bit different now. I haven't actually been there, and I moved in 92, I think. 91. Late 91. Lawrence, 2011 GT Cobra Jet, Twin 65, comp cams, 47s, long tubes, 4,000 stall, 410 gear. Car is full weight, tuned by Trevor. 1094, 125. Cannot be happier. That's awesome. What part of the country are you running at? What kind of DA we seeing there? Any 10-second NA car is spectacular for sure. And whose converter? I'm curious. Circle D or I can't remember the other ones. Suncoast, yeah. Best bolt-ons for a 2020 10 or 80 running E85. You know, obviously besides running on E85, I mean, headers are going to be a big thing. You know, for all-out performance, a lot of these guys like to run the Cobra Jet on NA applications, although the A10 manifold works fairly well. So headers would probably be one of the first things I would do after E85. That should be a nice little bump in power. You know, cold air kit. If you have E85, I'm guessing you might already have a cold air kit, though. Let it breathe better. You know, the NA game, a lot of it has to do with weight. You know, all the little things you can do to trim weight is going to really help you. Free horsepower. Paul, on the Gen 3 stuff, we did cams in Austin's car, and it's doing spectacular, but we don't really have a whole lot to gauge that off of. So I'm not going to throw out any recommendations on here, but if you want to contact us, we can kind of give you an idea of what we're running. We got a lot more testing to do. Eric, Carlos is tuned stock computer, just like your car. Nothing special. Engage, just like everybody else. It's really no different than the tune that we're remote tuning Nick in Texas or Lexi up. Uh-oh, my battery died, guys. Crap. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I got to get a power supply for my camera. I don't have one. But I did have a backup battery, thank God. Anyway. So, yeah, Carlos's car is using a factory computer. Nothing special. It actually, supercharged cars are a lot easier to do all this stuff on than turbo cars because it's just a lot. We don't need a two-step. We don't need a trans brake, boost control, and none of that stuff. So, anyway. All right, guys. I'm on my second battery, which means we're almost coming up on 2 hours. So, if you guys got any more questions, I'll probably try to cap this off at around 2 hours or less. So, if you got any more questions, throw them my way. Hey, Paco. How did everybody's weekend go? Anybody do any racing? Was supposed to go to the track tomorrow with my GT 500 to the Drag Times. Drag Times is having a private rental, you know, which they do often to do content, and he's got a new Ferrari F8 Tributo, which I was hoping to race with my GT 500, but that got canceled, unfortunately. Shelby Black, Blue Stripes, what's up? If you expect me to know who you are, you got to give me your name. But Black show, is that Ben? That's the only guy I know that has a GT 500. Black with blue stripes. I have his Recaro seats in my car. Well, actually, they're not in my car. I traded on my stock seats. All right, looks like we don't have a whole lot of questions. Ken, best headers for oh, hey, what's up, Rick? Best headers for A10 Mustang GT. You know, there's a lot of good brands out there nowadays on headers for sure. I like to support Cook's, American Racing. We've used Stainless Works in the past. They're pretty good. I've heard from Donnie Walsh that Ultimate Header is a good setup. We've used long tube header before. There's a lot of good options out there. In general, on my own personal car, I almost always use Cook's or American Racing. And that's what's on. My GT 500 has Cook's, and my new 7.3 truck has a set of American Racing that aren't on there yet, but they're going on there. All right, Rick, that's awesome. Lawrence on TCI triple disc. TCI, I don't know what tranny you're talking about, but their converters aren't super popular in our market. It's usually Circle D. I'm trying to think. FTI, I think, is what Scott Hasty runs, which is one of the only other brands that seem to be going too fast. And Suncoast on the 10 or 80 is getting popular. Arzilla, will headers void the warranty? I mean, nothing really voids your warranty, but here's how warranty works. If the Ford dealer feels that the modification that you made to your vehicle caused the failure that you're going in for warranty, then they cannot cover that. But they can't just say, oh, you have a tune and we're not going to warranty anything on your vehicle. It has to be from the modification. So they can't, if your shock blows out, they can't deny a new shock, for instance, because you have headers. But it just depends on the dealership. Obviously, they can be jerks if they really want to be, and it's hard to fight them. So I think headers would be, the dealer would have to be a pretty big jerk to try and do something to you there. Do I have magic for an 18 Lincoln Navi? Yes, I do. We have a that same setup as an Expedition, I'm pretty sure. And our buddy Sergio has a badass Expedition, 13 seconds, like fully weighted down with just our tune-up on it. So I'm pretty sure that's the same tune. 2019 GT 10 or 80 car, installing a watt box, whichever. Need to do a revision on my tune. Got an NA. What are you using the watt box for on an automatic car if it's NA? I'm not sure what you'd be using that for. I guess maybe just playing around a little bit. No, you shouldn't. I mean, we might have to. Sometimes we have to play a little bit with the tune, especially if you're leaving at a real low RPM. It can mess with the wide bands a little bit. Uh, 10 or 80 highway pulls should be done with paddle shifters. Made 911 with Whipple. Feels like the car is downshifting way too hard. Highway pulls always depend. No matter, well, on a 10 or 80 or any automatic 6 or 80, 10 or 80 car, you're not gonna want to roll into it and let it downshift. You're gonna want to start in the gear that you're planning on starting in, depending on the roll that you're starting. And let's say, if it's a 10R car, you're going to pull it down in select shift, select the gear that's best for you to leave, floor it, and then shove it in drive and let the computer shift from there. On a 2020 GT 500, we paddle shift those the whole way because we can't control where they shift through the computer. We have to do those. We have to do that ourselves. GT 350 Hellion twins, what's needed? You'll need E85 fuel system. I mean, that's it, really. You need the fuel system to support it, the turbos that'll support it, which, any of the turbos really support it. I'd probably do like 62s or 64s on that setup. and boost controller, stuff like that. They'll make 1,000 without a huge problem. Do you think you can make 1,000 real horsepower on a stock 5.8 GT 500 fuel system like Nate Ryder claims? I don't know about that claim. No, definitely not. Considering that you brought up Nate Ryder, and I know he did that Kenny Bell video, you might be talking about the 2020 GT 500 if that's part of the question. And if that is not, my car made 1,100 on the stock fuel pumps, if that's what you're asking. Not stock injectors, but stock fuel pumps. The 2020 GT 500 fuel pumps are super badass. I have a 17 Mustang Roush 2.3, 79 millimeter pulley with all the sporting mods, maxed out on 93. What else can I do to add more power besides the 85? Yes, on a 17 Roush 2.3, a throttle body would be a big help, a very big help. On 93, I probably wouldn't go any smaller pulley. But yeah, the throttle body is definitely the first step there. The other option would be blower porting. That's pretty involved, a little less involved than E85, but some people don't want to do E85 for lots of reasons. But for efficiency, blower port, especially a Roush, there's some stuff that can be done there to help that out. Sean Hall, Whipple Gen 5, 1050s, 375, full bolt on, mid 3,000 stall. Gen 1. Wait a second. Whipple Gen 5, 1050X, 375 pulley, full bolt on, mid 3,000 stall, 315 gear, weighs 3,500. It's a Gen 1. Okay, I got you. The problem with the Gen 1s is, you're going to be limited. You don't really want to try to make 700 really even. Keep it in the 600. So, it's a 10-second car for sure. It just depends on how hard you want to push it. The Gen 1s are very fragile. The problem with the Gen 1, and I did it with my own personal engine, is when they fail, you're going to the rod's going to fail, and that's going to, at that point, your whole engine's done, which happened to me. Lost my block. Eric, thank you for your time. We have a great team. Thank you. I'm very happy, very, very happy with how things are going at the shop, and I try to do it as much as I can, but thanks to all the help at PBD by Rob, my wife, Don, everybody. Everybody's a huge help. We're going to be hiring another guy hopefully this week. Nitrous on a Gen 3 while using 85. Doesn't matter what fuel you're using. Nitrous in general. I do a lot of nitrous blower combinations on cars that want the extra hit on the blower. We don't do a ton of nitrous only cars. I think it's because most people, the economics of it over time, the blower makes more sense and it's easier. And the nitrous setup requires a more educated user, making sure bottle pressure is right, no lines are leaking, things like that. So it's not a bad route to go. But if you're not a nitrous guy, then I don't think it's a great route to go. Okay, but if you have a lot of experience with nitrous, then it's fine. Oh, 1,000 horsepower on a S197 GT 500 on stock fuel system. I mean, with dual booster pumps and all that and race gas, maybe. Those kind of claims don't really interest me. Like, there's all kinds of things I could do that, like, are not the best way to do it, but I don't want to, I try to do things with lots of overhead and lots of extra room to grow. Bronze Fire Super Duty. I do not do any diesel. Thanks for asking. Mark, we've done a few Odin kits, and we've done one on our dyno for sure, and I think we've remote tuned a few of them. I think now that they're out there, people are seeking us out a lot more for the tunes. Yeah, Rob would know that. Thanks, Todd. You too. Cringy Star, what compression ratio should I run on a 5th generation Whipple fuel system and headers? On E85, I mean, it really just depends on how hard you want to push it, if you want it to run on pump gas also. In general, it's not as easy as just like throw a bunch of compression at it, but the higher compression you're at, the more power you're going to make on any particular pulley. So I'm not going to tell you what Carlos's engine is, but it's not crazy high, but it's up there. Coyote Chris, Kia Stinger, no, I haven't messed with any of those. If we had a bigger facility, honestly, we would tune something like that. We don't have the time. We don't have the space for the staff, which would create the time. In my perfect world, we would have a 20,000 square foot facility with 4 or 5 dynos and cover, have everything compartmentalized into different brands and tune them all. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of property like that here in Palm Beach, and I'm not moving. Michael, and for the guy with the Roush 2.3, he has the same setup. Christopher Johnson, Focus ST, maybe. Kobe, who works for us, has an ST. We do a lot of tuning on ST. We don't have much video of his car. We've got some dyno videos we can throw up, but that's about it. So, all right, guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. We still have quite a few people in here. If anybody has any questions, let's hear it. Sign off. One thing I would like to hear from you guys, if you're still here, is what kind of topics you want to see, what kind of things you want to see, watch more videos, more question and answer early on, whatever. I want to hear some feedback on this. This is only our second go at this. I'm going to work on the background here soon and get some things hung up on the wall. Hopefully I'll be moving here soon, so I don't want to do too much. Ken, car shows at my place. I mentioned on Facebook, for those of you guys that want to keep up with me and Palm Beach Dyno, I post a lot on my personal Facebook. Because it's easier to, I don't want to post too much on our business page. Feel free to follow me on Facebook. You can friend request me if you want. I'm full of friends, but it doesn't really matter because I post everything publicly, or pretty much everything, unless it's something very personal, which I never post on Facebook. It's always public. So follow me on Facebook and you can kind of keep up with things on a daily basis with us. But I'd really like to, hear from everybody on, what you want to see on these live feeds. What I'm going to do next, well, we're going to do some of them, maybe from the shop where Rob can be on here, or Will from Rarefab, or maybe we'll do like a crew deal, or maybe we'll set up to where I can video chat with those sorts of people. But that's definitely in the cards. Coyote Chris, as far as getting hired at a place like Palm Beach Dyno, I mean, we don't hire mechanics. We don't have a shop. That would be Rarefab next door. Tuning, to be honest with you, man, the tuning side of thing, it's more about trust than it is about tuning. So that's how I've hired everybody. Rob, not that Rob wasn't a good tuner before. He was well known and sought after on Facebook, but he became part of Palm Beach Dyno because I trusted him more than because, I thought he was, gonna change the company as far as tuning. we do that together. You know, like any tuning that gets done, what we know today is more than we knew yesterday because we all work together. So that's not ever a concern as far as like what information somebody brings to the table. It's more like trustworthiness and things like that. That's the biggest thing you fight in this sort of business or any kind of business that involves that. So, you know, Rob, I trust, Trevor out in Oklahoma, I trust greatly. And then the two other tuners that we hired after that one was a friend of Rob's who he trusted very much so. And I knew him. And the other was a customer of ours who was also a close personal friend of Trevor. And they both became assistants to Trevor and Rob. So that's how we hire tuners. Sales obviously are a little bit different. Customer service is a little bit different. There's probably a better chance of coming on to a place like Palm Beach Chino in that capacity and then moving to a tuner than being hired as a tuner. Being hired as a tuner by us is difficult. Brandon is remoting in a guest. I think most people, with this setup, I can broadcast my screen. So I think the easiest thing to do is you just set up a video conference. A lot of people use Zoom, which I've never used. I think it's an alternative to Skype. But I guess really, no matter how you do it, you would just set it up like you were video chatting without broadcasting it. And then I just broadcast that screen. At least that's how I'll do it to begin with. 14 GT planning on a twin 60 millimeter on 3 kit next year. But he has an 80 millimeter kit. Full exhaust. You want a full exhaust? You know, exhaust on a turbo car is super important. So if you're going to eventually work to be towards being a turbo car, you definitely want if you want to run a full exhaust when the turbos are on, you definitely want like a really nicely flowing 3-inch setup. So it wouldn't hurt to go that route. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense to do headers or anything like that for sure. Chuck, guests from different companies, manufacturers. Yes. I'm not sure if this will grow into that directly, this format, but I may do that as a separate thing. I really want to do a podcast. We'll do a video format like this, but it'll be a podcast type deal where I can get all the industry people on here and really chat about new products and all that. So that's definitely in the longer term plans for sure. I'm mostly doing it this way to get used to this whole deal, but it's going pretty well so far, I think. Kenny Bell still makes that twin screw, believe it or not, for the 5.0s, and I think that's probably your only choice. I had a customer back in the day that went really fast with that blower. So, Dan, what's up, Dan? Furious Viewer, yeah. The biggest thing is, again, I mentioned this earlier about our facility. Our facility is extremely undersized for what we're doing. So once we get a new place, I'd like to set up like a nice little room. If I do a podcast type setup, I'd really prefer to try and do most of them in person and not do video style, like where the person's remotely located. I'd rather be in the same room as the person. So I'd like to set up a little studio in the new facility if we ever get one. It's hard to find one. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thanks for joining us. We'll probably be doing this every Monday at 8 p.m. I did not do it this last week, but I may also go live on Facebook. When I do it on Facebook, I'm not sure yet. I might be doing it under my personal account or under the company account. So make sure you follow me on Facebook. Also, we're not very good at it right now, but make sure you follow us on Instagram. I'm going to try and post more on there. Palm Beach Dyno. And I also have my personal Instagram, Ken Bionis, where I post mostly just my own personal vehicles. And then obviously on Palm Beach Dyno, we're posting everything, customer stuff, things like that. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.